So, what is Black History Month?
Black History Month is an annual observance of Black history. It's about the events that happen in Black history and also Black Americans and the impact that they have on our country. And so it's a time that happens once every year in February, and that we celebrate those accomplishments of those individuals and the events and the effect they had on our country.
Okay. Has there always been a Black History Month?
There has not always been a Black History Month. Let me tell you about a gentleman. He's an African American, and his name is Carter G. Woodson. So in 1926, Mr. Carter Woodson, he invented or completed a journal. He's a historian, and he loves finding out about the history of Black Americans. As a matter of fact, we call him, his nickname is Father of Black History. And so what he did was he ended up completing a journal called the Journal of Negro History. And during that time, what he realized was there's so much history that is there. And he felt that people needed to not only know about it, but they needed to understand it, and they needed to embrace it, and they also needed to empower it. And so what he decided, and I'm not sure why, but because of Abraham Lincoln's birthday, which is February the 12th, and then Frederick Douglass' birthday, which is February the 14th, I believe, he decided that week that he would just allow that 1 week to be called the Negro History Week. And during that time, what he wanted to take place is that he was so adamant about knowing the history and teaching and learning about the history, because what he thought is that if people did not understand, or if we did not celebrate that history, that race of people would not flourish. He wanted that race to flourish. And so he chose that week, and for a long time they celebrated. But then later in 1970, the United States decided that they would have a whole month to that celebration. And so it was 1970 that the United States had Black History Month. Now let me just tell you a little bit about Mr. Carter Woodson, because it's so important. He was a very smart man. He went to Howard University, but he also went to Harvard University, and that is an Ivy League school, very, very privileged school. And he was only the second Black individual, American, to get a PhD there. And I challenge you, he was the second. I want you all to find out who the first African American was that went to Harvard University.
So, what is done during Black History Month?
A lot is done during Black History Month. Like here at South Haven Middle School, we're having a poetry reading. That's the first time we're having that. We're having that here. We're also having a drawing contest. This is for our students, and our teachers and our staffers also participated in a door decoration contest. But that's only here. Across the whole United States, there are times where there's reenactment of certain events and also of people. There's parades, there is fellowship, there's a lot of festivals that go on. So there's a lot of different things. I know from where I'm from, we used to have a basketball game, a tournament that we would have in that month. And the whole thing that you try to do is to make sure that you do things that are going to teach, and it's going to also show appreciation for things that African Americans or Black Americans have done and have paid a price for our country.
Is Black History Month for only Black Americans to celebrate?
It is not, and I love that you asked that question, because so many people think that it's just for Black Americans, and it's not. What it is, again, is a time for all Americans to show their appreciation for this group of Americans and the things that they have done and accomplished to make our world and our country great. And so it's just a time that we take and we show the appreciation, we teach, we learn what things they did, what events happened that was done with Black Americans, and it's a time for all Americans to show appreciation for that.
And what is Black History Month to you, Miss Stutts, and what do you do during Black History Month?
I'm so glad you asked that question. Let me just tell you, this is a time that I take and I truly reflect. I love this around this time of the year, because I try to think, what am I doing in my dash? And I don't know if many of you understand that, but you are born, that's your birthday, and then there's a time where you're going to leave, and that's your time that you die. Well, there's a dash in the middle. And so I look at that time and I try to think of what things I have done that is going to leave a mark here in the world. Not only with my children, but also their friends and the people that I teach or I come encounter with. And I take this time to think about the things that African Americans or Black Americans did throughout history. For instance, let me just give you a little bit about John Robert Lewis. If you ever seen the movie Selma, this movie is about him, and it talks about how this person who was not only a civil rights leader but an activist, but he is also a representative, a House representative for in Georgia, United States House representative. Anyway, he went to Selma and he felt so passionate about all people being able to vote that he created a march for them to march from Selma to the Capitol, Montgomery. That day, sadly, is called Bloody Sunday because, of course, they weren't able to make that march. They were met with state troopers and things happened. But after two more encounters, they were able to successfully make that march. And so I think about the resilience those people had, the motivational, the desire, and what things that they must have been thinking, but still did it anyway, knowing that they may or may not have made it. So I just look at myself, and when I think about things and that I say, oh, I'm just not going to do that, it's too hard, I just don't have time. Well, I reflect on that and think, you know what, there were people that came before me that took time, made time, and tried. And so I want people, all people, to understand what African Americans or Black Americans, their impact, their positive impact that they had on our country. And I try to do what I can and think about what am I doing to teach that not only to my children, but to all the children.
All right, well, that's all the questions I have for you today.